Hi guys, Karen Miller here. Today I'm doing a lot of cooking. I'm cooking up a storm, and I decided to do some pizza, and I'm going to show you how I do it. I know that Dr. Sebi doesn't want us to use artificial yeast, but I don't have a starter, and since my family loves pizza, we usually have pizza night Fridays, every Friday night. So I do use the artificial yeast, but I use only a small amount of yeast, no more than a half of teaspoon to about 2.5 cups of flour. And the reason why I can do this is because I let my dough sit for many hours for that fermentation process to take place. So if you don't want to use a lot of yeast, you use a small amount. So you could even use a half a teaspoon or even as little as a quarter of a teaspoon for between 2.5 cups to 4 or 5 cups of flour, but you have to let it sit for many hours. So as I explained in my dosa video with the lactic acid producing bacteria, in this case with flour making, pizza making, you're looking for a natural yeast. But since I don't have a starter is something that you make with flour and water, and the natural yeast that comes from the grains, most grains or all grains have a yeast that is on the plant, on the grain. So when you make a starter, this yeast is now fermenting and creating the carbon dioxide and the bubbles and everything. And this is what you can use to make your breads instead of using the artificial yeast that we buy in those little packets. But I have tried to do my starter and I haven't been successful at it. So until I become successful at doing my starter, in the meantime, I have to use the artificial yeast, honestly, because my family cannot live without pizza every Friday. So I have to do the pizza. So I just wanted to show you how to do the pizza. The only thing I can say is if you decide to do this, you have to do it in advance. You could make your dough, like when I make bread, it's the same principle. I use about 4.5 cups of flour and a quarter teaspoon of yeast. Not a lot of yeast at all compared to 4.5 cups of flour. But I let it sit for 7-8 hours. I do this before I go to bed, and then I put it in the oven. I turn on the oven light and I let it sit for 7-8 hours. And then the next day I start doing my bread and I let it sit and rise again another 2 or 3 times. With the pizza, I only do it for about 2 risings. So what I want to show you is how I do my pizza. Okay, so let's do this. So here I have my pizza dough that I made. This is 2.5 cups of flour that I have here. I put half a teaspoon of yeast, 2.5 cups of flour, 1 cup of water with about a tablespoon of oil. I like to put oil in my pizza dough. And as you can see here, this has been sitting for about 4 hours. So this has doubled in size. This dough has doubled in size, which is what you want. So I just wanted to show you this. I didn't show you the starting process, but it's not difficult. 2.5 cups of flour. You put it in a bowl, half a teaspoon of yeast, a teaspoon of salt, a cup of water with about a teaspoon of grapeseed oil, and you mix it in and you let it rest. If you don't have 4 or 5 hours, you could let it rest for an hour, at least an hour and a half, even 45 minutes. It might double in size. The important thing is that as long as it doubles in size, that is fine. So this is my first rising. After 3 or 4 hours, I was doing other things. I'm cooking up a storm here. I even forgot about pizza at one point, that I was gonna make pizza. But what you do now is that you punch it in. You see, you punch it in to release the gases, and then you knead it again. You knead it. I'm turning the bowl and kneading it. Kneading. You see, this is pizza dough. It's sticky. but it's not sticking. You see, you don't see any dough on my fingers, or hardly any dough. So this is how you want it. And you can also do this in a mixer, but I like to feel what I'm doing. I like to feel the dough, you know, and you should have your children do this as well. This is like Play-Doh, you know. This is just feeling so good, and it's smooth, see? And you see, it's sticky, but it's not sticking to my hand. So now I'm going to let this rest again. You see the difference from what we had before? I'm going to let this rest again for another 45 minutes, not so long. The second and third rise doesn't have to be for more than 40 or 45 minutes. But I like my pizza dough to have at least three risings, because then if you want really crusty, crispy, delicious pizza dough, this is what you have to do. You have to let it rise a second and a third time. So when this rises a second time, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So here, folks, this is the second rise of my pizza dough. And as you would see, it doubled in size, almost tripled in size. It's every time you let it rise, it's going to rise faster. Excuse me. And it's going to get bigger and bigger. Now it's getting late, and I was going to do this a third time, but it's getting late and I need to do this pizza. So again, I want to apologize to the Sebians, the purists, the ones who are 100% pure as a lily. Is that right? I'm using unnatural yeast for this. You know, not everyone in my family is doing what I'm doing. And like I said, they have to have pizza every week, once a week. So since I didn't get my starter going yet, my natural yeast starter, I didn't get that going yet. I tried it twice and I failed, I have to say. But I'm going to keep trying because I really want to do this using the natural yeast. If you looked at my video on the wild rice dosa, it's the same concept. It's just that with the breads and the pizza, it's the yeast, fermentation of the yeast, and in the dosa, it's bacteria. So in the meantime, I'm gonna have to use these little packets of yeast, but it's not a lot. It's not a lot of yeast that we're using, especially if you're gonna let this sit for many hours. You don't have to use a lot of yeast. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pound this again. See, it deflated like punching a balloon, but you can see the bubbles. This, even though I let this rise twice, I know my pizza crust is going to be really crispy and crusty. So I'm going to knead this again. And then I'm going to roll out my pizza crust. So we'll get back to you soon. So I have my pizza dough on my board here to start rolling it out. This, as you can see, I have, I forgot to say the ratio. I have 1 cup of white spelt and 2.5 cups of brown spelt. As you can see, this is brown. It's mostly brown. And this is 2.5 cups of flour. 2.5 cups of flour can make 2 pizzas, 2 small or 2 medium-sized pizzas. So I'm not going to do 2 pizzas today because it's getting late. I'm going to cut this in half, and I'm going to do 1 pizza, and this I'm going to refrigerate, and I'm going to do the other pizza tomorrow. So this is very simple, and you should do this because it's homemade and it's easy. You don't have to buy pizza in the store. You don't know what flour they're using. You don't know what chemicals are in the tomato sauce. you really don't know anything. So you could do these things at home and it's easy. Now you could roll this out, or you can do this. You can start doing this. You can put it down and you can pull it like this. And your board has to be floured so it doesn't stick. So I'm gonna get the rolling pin. I like to roll it out. You do a quarter turn, so your pizza is going to, we're doing a round pizza. So this is a good size right here. For 2.5 cups flour, you would get 2 small pizzas, but this is going to expand once it gets into the oven, and it's going to be bigger than this. But this is about a 1/4 inch thick. See, this is good. So now I'm going to put this on my pan, and I'm going to put the toppings. I'm going to show you what toppings I put on it, and you would see how crispy and delicious this pizza is going to be. So you see, this is the pizza dough. It started to rise again. It's like it's getting a second rise because it was sitting here for about 10 minutes while I was getting some other things prepared. So I'm going to switch this to my pan that I bake my pizza on. And this is my pizza pan. You see, it's well worn, and you can see that circle here. Now that pizza dough that I did, this is a small pizza here, but you can do that 2.5 cups of pizza and it would be like this size, about maybe 12 inches in diameter. So I'm going to oil my pizza pan here, this flat pan that I like, that I use for my pizzas, so that it doesn't stick. If you don't oil this, it's going to stick and it's going to be a hot mess. So remember to oil your pan. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to put it on my pan like this. See, you can pull it out. You can pull it out a little bit to get bigger. And then while I'm putting my toppings, again, it's getting an opportunity to rest again and rise a little bit again. So before I do that, I just wanted to show you what I'm going to do for my toppings. I'm going to do half and half. Let me move this from here. I'm going to do half for mushrooms and half margarita. This is my marinara sauce that I made today. I have a video on how to make a basic marinara sauce. And for my mushrooms, these are some button mushrooms that I roasted in the oven with a little bit of salt and oil. If you don't dehydrate your mushrooms and you put it fresh, it's going to make a hot mess on your pizza. Your pizza is going to be watery because mushrooms have a lot of water in it. So if you don't dehydrate it by roasting it like this in a little bit of salt and oil, it's not going to be good for your pizza. You're not going to enjoy it. So these are my roasted mushrooms. And then I'm going to also put some onions. I have some onions here, red onions with some salt and oil that I'm going to put over the mushrooms. That would be one side of my pizza, mushrooms with onions. The other side of the pizza is going to be margarita, cheese, and basil. Okay, so my cheese, I've been trying to make cheese for a very long time, and I think I have been successful at it. This is the big reveal. You are seeing it the same time that I am. This has been aging for 5 days now. And this here is a cheesecloth that I wrapped my cheese in. So now I'm removing it. And this is a nut cheese. I made this with a Brazil nut. So I'm going to cut it now. This cheese is, I don't know, a Parmigiano Reggiano kind of texture. You see, it cuts. You see what it looks like? Now, it has these brown bits in it. This is from the brown parts of the Brazil nut because I didn't have time to remove the brown parts because it's such a pain in the neck to remove it. It's very time consuming. But next time I'm doing it, I'm gonna remove it because I don't want these brown bits in my cheese. I just want to have that beautiful, like a light yellow color or white color for my cheese. So I'm going to do this because, again, I had to try to do this because I couldn't just put some Brazil nut into a blender and make some kind of pasty thing and call it cheese, because I would be run out of the house. They would really throw me out of the house because that absolutely has no flavor. This has flavor and it tastes exactly like cheese. It really, really does. So I'm going to show you how to do this in the future. But in the meantime, this is my cheese. This is my Brazil nut cheese. Okay, for real. So let's dress this pizza now. So I'm going to get a spoon. My camera person is tired. So this is my marinara sauce, homemade, not from a jar. And I'm going to put my marinara sauce all over here. And my oven is warming up. I put my oven at the highest temperature it can go, which is 550 degrees. Pizza has to be done very, very quickly. Very hot, 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 hot oven. Okay? Hot, hot, hot oven. So and now I'm going to break my cheese up like this. My homemade nut cheese that has been aging for 5 days. This is about half, right? And then we do the other half with mushrooms. Okay? Wow, this is tasting good. This is my first time tasting it. So what should I put first? I think I'm going to put the onions first. Put my onions, and then I'm going to put my mushrooms. So it's going to come together and it's going to really taste really yummy, 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 yummy. You can do this at home. It's so easy. Do not buy this filthy pizza in the store. And now I'm going to put my basil. I'm just going to tear these leaves like that. Oh, this basil smells so good, so delicious. I love basil. Basil is my favorite, more than oregano. Lots of basil. Should we put the basil over here too, or just leave it like that? Just a little bit. Okay, one more piece. So that's it, and now I'm going to stick this into the oven, and it's going to swell up, and it's going to be crispy and crusty and delicious. Look, so the pizza just came out of the oven, very hot oven, 550 degrees. If your oven is higher, then you do it less time. You know, these Italian brick ovens, they are over 1,000 degrees, so it's like 5 minutes and it's over. This has been in there for about 10-12 minutes, and you see it expanded. So I'm going to slip this off to my cooling rack, and I'm going to let this cool, and after 10-15 minutes I'm going to cut it. So here we have our pizza. It's been cooling now for about 5 minutes. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of olive oil. I like to sprinkle some olive oil on my pizza before eating, just to shine it up a little bit for looks. It's looking good and shiny for presentation. Okay, so this is the mushroom side, this is the cheese side, my vegan nut cheese made with Brazil nut, homemade nut cheese. So I'm going to cut this now, and I'm hoping that I'm hoping that you would hear the crispiness and the crustiness of it, because it is. Okay, so I'm going to cut this in half, and then I'm going to I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm hearing it. And you notice that this expanded quite a bit. So we have, you know, tiny, like little hors d'oeuvre pieces, a little bigger than an hors d'oeuvre. So you get 8 small slices for a nice snack. So there you have it. Homemade pizza. It is, I'm going to have this piece here. Okay, so this is so good. Really good. The onions and the mushroom together. It's just delicious. Let me see. This here. Did you hear that crunch? You can see those little pockets here. The air bubbles. This is really good. Please make this for your children. They love pizza. Do not buy this nasty crap in the store. Okay? Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm gonna continue to do this. My goal is to prepare delicious vegan foods for you to eat and enjoy, so that you would not have any interest whatsoever in eating flesh. Get off the flesh and be happy and healthy. Take care.